Matt, how you doing today?
Yeah, I'm doing great, Travis. Good to hear your voice again. It's been a while, and that's it. Cut my teeth in Prattville, and then got a chance to play in college and everything, and the rest is history, huh? Here we are in 2018, still talking football.
Crazy how time flies. In fact, I saw where Prattville just hired a new head football coach. So perhaps
that's Caleb Ross. Caleb was a high school teammate of mine at Prattville. In fact, the last two head coaches at Prattville, the outgoing coach, Chad Anderson, was a high school teammate of mine in the mid to late 90s. He was a tight end who I threw passes to. And after college, he went on to school at University of Alabama, got his teaching coaching degree there. And now Caleb Ross, the new coach at Prattville, he was my high school center. He was one stepping me the ball. He's coached all over. And so I sent him a text when he got the job and told him if he needs anything, he's got it from me. And I really think the world of Caleb. I'm pulling for him.
I'll tell you what, Matt, and I'm getting off topic already, but one of the best things about Prattville to Tuscaloosa these days is that road work that got done in Centerville, right? I mean, how we can just zip right through.
Amen, brother.
You with me on that?
Amen. I'm telling you. And, here's the thing, right? I live over in northeast Mississippi now. And so, my trip always goes through Birmingham when I go back home to visit. And when they got that new section of Highway 78/Interstate 22 done, where you just go right into North Birmingham, keep on rolling, that was great. But over the holidays, I decided just for nostalgia's sake to make that trip from Prattville along Highway 82 right on through Tuscaloosa. And, yeah, man, when they got that new section, I couldn't believe how much easier that trip was because of that. So round of applause to the ADOT, Alabama Department of Transportation, whoever's responsible for that.
Oh, it's the Central Alabama version of the Concorde jet, back in the old days, just to get through Centerville like that. Now, it's amazing. Something else that was amazing was sort of how we saw a true freshman season for Tua Tagovailoa culminate the way that it did on such a big stage in such a big spot, coming off the bench in the second half of the national championship game against Georgia, 13-0 deficit. He helps bring Alabama back, goes on to throw the game-winning touchdown pass in overtime to another true freshman in Devontae Smith. I haven't talked to you about that specific performance since it went down in Atlanta. So just give me a thought or two and try to give me some perspective as an old quarterback as to what Tagovailoa was facing in that situation, given his youth, but also the position he's playing and the magnitude of the game that he was in.
Right. I think the thing that is, to me, as impressive as, let's say, making the right read and putting the ball in place, is doing it in that scenario as a true freshman, right? There are a lot of guys at that age that come out of high school now that can play in a game and can make those throws. For us here at Mississippi State at the end of the year, we had a true freshman in Keaton Thompson who he got forced into that bowl. He had to play the whole bowl game because Nick Fitzgerald broke his leg in the last game of the year. And, he made some really good throws, really played well. I mean, a lot of guys could do it, but it's another thing to coolly, calmly go throw 3 touchdowns, including the game winner in overtime of the national dadgum championship game. So to me, being prepared enough to do it, man, from a coaching perspective, having the flexibility to, the opposite of rigidity for the Alabama staff to go, hey, look, it's halftime of the national championship game. We got a true freshman who can throw the you-know-what out of it. Put him in the game. Not a lot of coaches are going to do that. And they had the ability to do it. They trusted him. And it's just a heck of a story. And to do it on that stage as a true freshman is really, really impressive.
Given what we saw from Jalen as recent as, say, the game against Mississippi State, right there in Starkville, sort of a heroic finish for Jalen in that game. How surprised were you, or were you at all? Because I noted in watching one of your breakdowns for the Alabama-Georgia game in retrospect, You noted a sequence there at the end of the first half that, in your opinion, probably went a long way to Alabama making that move. But to go from what we saw in Starkville to benching Jalen Hurts at half of the national championship game, how did that hit you? How did that strike you?
Travis, it's one of those things where Jalen Hurts had done enough in his first year as a freshman and then even throughout his sophomore year to show you at any point he's capable of making a play. At any point, he might get you in the end zone. And to break away from that mentality, and again, have the spur of the moment flexibility as a staff to go, nope, we got to put the other guy in. I don't think there's a lot of coaches who would do that. And I say that because, again, you brought up what Jalen Hurts did against Mississippi State. Right. He stood in there. He got blitzed the entire game. They were getting to him on third down. State's defense had done a phenomenal job getting him off the field on third down, pressuring him, corralling him, that kind of thing. And then finally, on the 12th or 13th third down deal of the ball game, he steps in there and throws that ball to Ridley against the blitz. He figured it out. And the other thing is, in my studying throughout the year in these videos studying Tua Tagovailoa, what I see is there's a reason that Jalen Hurts continued to be the starter throughout the year. He's playing really good football. I watched one film, I think it was the Tennessee game, where I see a throw that Jalen made just before they put Tua Tagovailoa in the game. And it was an unbelievable throw against man-to-man. It was great. It was like a clinic. Then I watched the most recent film that I broke down of Tua's game against Mercer. You turn it on and you look and you realize, well, Jalen Hurts was 7 for 7 in the ball game, perfect, throwing the ball for 3 touchdowns. He gave them every reason in the world to continue to let him start. But in that first half of that championship game against Georgia, they saw some things that indicated he's a little bit locked up in this game. There's something going on. He's not pulling the trigger. He's not quite freed up for some reason to turn the ball loose where it should go. And to notice that in the first half, to make that change at halftime, it's an all-time coaching decision. It really is.
And it doesn't hurt, right, when you have the cachet, the built up that a coach like Nick Saban has. And that's not a call that most coaches can make, right?
Well, I agree with that. Right. There's probably something to that, right? You got the confidence that they're not going to fire you if this blows up in your face. Right? But the other thing is, I've said this since going back and watching every single throw that Tua Tagovailoa made during the year in his limited snaps. There is a reason they were playing him, and it wasn't just token playing time. And I think it also wasn't just, well, let's get our starter off the field. What I'm seeing is a true freshman who, in limited playing time and limited snaps, by the time he stepped onto the field in the title game, had thrown a touchdown pass every 6.5 passes that he threw. Less than 7 passes, every time he put it in the air 6 times, he's throwing a TD throughout the year. He was ready to play. And I saw a true freshman, too, who the ball was coming out on time, even in his first appearance in Game 2 against Fresno. He's reading things on time. There was not hesitation. It wasn't a Johnny Manziel-esque type of deal where he's using ability to run around and make spectacular plays. No, he's doing the easy stuff, making it look easy. And so they continued to play him because he could run their offense. And so for that reason, I totally understand why they had confidence that he could throw the ball in that situation against Georgia.
You talked about the touchdown pass per attempt ratio, and it was stunning. And it continued right through the championship game because he threw 3 in 24 attempts in that game against a team like Georgia on that stage. But in terms of his growth in doing this breakdown, which you did so well, Matt, in the different videos that you have at YouTube. When did it really strike you did it take very long to sort of hit you that this guy maybe has some of the stuff that you don't necessarily coach? Some of the instincts, some of the anticipation.
It does not take long at all. Yeah, I mean, I'm talking, Travis, watch his 9 throws against Fresno State. That was the first time he set foot on the field in the ball game. And even the first throw, there was this indication that, boy, he read that quickly. There was no hesitation. And that's the thing that I see. I played the position many, many years ago, but even then, nothing's changed since way back then. And that is, most of the time, true freshmen, you see things in these college games from the first time out there, it fools you. You have to try to make up for indecision a lot of times with arm strength or just ability. Well, he wasn't doing that. So whoever had coached him, the next thing I would love to know, like what his development was like in high school, because somebody had him ready to go. Mentally, in game 2 of the year, he'd step out there, you could tell. Pre-snap, he recognizes what the defense is in. He's already anticipating where the ball is going to go. He reads it during the course of the play, and exactly when the coach wants the ball coming out, it came out, and he put it there in accurately. Now, because of that super, that hyper quick anticipation, get out on time, then there were times when defenses would fool him into making a throw here or there and almost pick it off. It happened against Ole Miss on his first throw. It happened on his second or third throw against Mercer, where a linebacker dropped in his throwing lane and it should have been picked. And then, of course, you did have the pick that he threw down in the goal line against Tennessee. But to me, all those were things where he's reading the defense and anticipating based on certain things and not necessarily having to see a receiver come open in order to let it go. And that's pretty advanced for a true freshman.
Talking with Matt Wyatt of Head to Head Radio. You can find Matt's great video breakdown work on YouTube. Just search Matt Wyatt on YouTube. You'll find his work. Subscribe to it. Great stuff. We're talking specifically about Matt's breakdown of Tua Tagovailoa. Each and every one of Tua's 77 passes during the 2017 season, Matt is breaking down here over the last few weeks and the coming weeks. Gosh, when you look at this situation with Tua Tagovailoa and Jalen Hurts moving forward as soon as later this month, when spring practice gets underway at Alabama, if you're Nick Saban, Matt, what's the approach with these two guys? Because Jalen's given you so much. I mean, we're talking about the SEC Offensive Player of the Year in 2016. Did a lot of great things in helping you get to where you got in 2017, but Tagovailoa's ability and talent it's just undeniable. How do you manage this thing?
Well, I think that from a coaching standpoint, you don't really. I think the best thing that they can do, and it probably will do, is that they won't do a lot of things different than they did in the fall. Just because in the championship game the kid comes in and throws some touchdowns doesn't necessarily change the way you're going to approach his development, nor how you're going to approach Jalen Hurts' development. Yes, spring is about competition, and guys can maybe jockey for playing time that early. Yeah, sure. But every player, every coach knows you're going to earn that playing time in the fall. That's really where you're going to earn it. And so spring is as much about development as anything else. So I don't think they're going to do a whole lot different. The other thing is, and I've been involved in quarterback competition, the best thing a coach can do, Travis, is just be honest with the guys. Be honest with them. Hey, boys, here's the deal. We're trying to find which one of you can get us in the end zone the most often. And Jalen's done it a bunch. You've done it more because you're older. Tua, you did it a bunch in the limited opportunities you had. So in terms of the competition, we want you guys developing this spring, and we're going to figure out who the starter is. And frankly, it's going to come down to who just can score the most touchdowns. It's not going to be because we like one guy or don't like another, but compete and run the offense. And if whoever's running the offense better, you'll get the job. If a coach and a staff approaches it that way, the kids will be fine. They'll take to it. They'll battle. They'll work their tails off, and it'll help the team be better. if you have a situation where there's a coach who's dodging questions, who you don't really let them in on why one guy's getting snaps and the other isn't, then it can fester into a bad situation. But they're honest and upfront and say, look, man, it's a game. The team deserves to have the guy on the field who can score the most, and whoever that is will play. And just simplify it as opposed to complicate it.
Matt, when you hear news like we're hearing today that a graduate transfer from East Carolina in Gardner Minshew, hails from Brandon, Mississippi, right over there in the Magnolia State, is going to join this room, when you already have Jalen Hurts and Tua and a redshirt freshman to be in Mac Jones, that's 3 scholarship quarterbacks. Is this as simple as just, in your opinion, wanting to add a 4th quarterback, scholarship quarterback, like most coaches want to do? Or is this also, you may be thinking big picture wise, if things shake out a certain way in the spring and through the summer, you're trying to protect yourself maybe in terms of your numbers, making sure you don't have as less than 3, I guess is what I'm saying.
I think that's absolutely it. That's absolutely it. You know, Alabama has had their fair share of guys at that position transfer out. Everybody wants to play, you know. And so I think they're just padding themselves a little bit in case it happens. You know, if somebody doesn't transfer, fine, great, we'll move forward. But if somebody does leave your depth chart, you know, it's not like pro football. You can't go out and find that free agent to fill your depth and put on the practice squad. So it's an insurance move on their part. And it's funny you bring up Gardner. I'm actually headed right now. We're doing our radio show this afternoon at Northwest Community College. They're hosting a basketball tournament over there, and that's where he played JUCO ball. Led them to, I think they played for a national championship.
The Rangers.
The Rangers. Then he went to East Carolina, and then, of course, now he may head on over to Tuscaloosa. But he's a kid. I've watched him since high school. Tough as nails, super smart. And he's competitive. He can flat throw the football, too. And it's probably a career move for him, you know, where you get to meet some coaches on that staff and be around some people that if he wants to go into coaching or something like that, it gives him a head start also.
All right, we're going to put you on the spot as we let you go, and you've been more than gracious with your time today, and we certainly appreciate it. Labor Day weekend, Orlando, Florida, opening snap. Offensive snap for the Alabama Crimson Tide. Tua or Jalen Hurts behind center in that season opener for the Crimson Tide?
Yeah, I think it'll probably, you know, if I were guessing, I would think it'll probably be the sophomore at that time, Tagovailoa. I just think he's an elite thrower, passer. Mm-hmm. I think he's ahead of the curve a little bit. Somebody really did a great job with him mentally, and you see that. And I think another year of development, it's going to be really, really hard to keep him off the field. Just my take.